This video is intended for audiences 18 and over. Can you truly be safe, even in the quiet familiarity of your own neighborhood, when unseen prejudice takes root and an ordinary jog becomes a desperate flight for your life? The story of Ahmaud Arbery is a chilling testament to how quickly an innocent moment can transform into a harrowing pursuit, revealing the fragile illusion of peace and the enduring struggle against injustice. It forces us to confront uncomfortable truths about suspicion, inherent bias, and the catastrophic consequences of individuals taking the law into their own hands, fueled by assumptions. In this deep dive, we will meticulously explore the series of events that led to a vibrant young man's untimely demise and uncover the profound lessons his tragedy offers for our collective vigilance, our understanding of human behavior, and the tireless pursuit of a safer, more equitable world. Prepare to journey into a case that shook a nation to its core, challenged its conscience, and ultimately redefined the boundaries of what justice truly means. Welcome to True Crime Deep Dive. Welcome to the story. The Georgia sun, usually a source of warmth and vitality, cast a deceptive glow over Satilla Shores on Sunday, February 23, 2020, for Ahmaud Arbery, a charismatic 25-year-old black man. This was a day like any other. A day for his cherished routine of jogging through the tranquil, tree-lined streets of his suburban community outside Brunswick, Georgia. Ahmaud, a former high school football standout, found solace and joy in his runs. They were moments of freedom, a rhythm of breath and stride against the backdrop of a peaceful neighborhood. But on this particular afternoon, an invisible current of suspicion was already swirling, poised to disrupt that peace. Gregory McMichael, a 64-year-old former police officer and investigator for the local district attorney's office, stood in his yard. He noticed Ahmaud running, and in that moment, fueled by unsubstantiated rumors of recent property incidents in the area, Gregory made a snap, devastating judgment. There was no direct evidence, no eyewitness account of Ahmaud committing any crime, only a man running, and a mind leaping to conclusions. "Travis, get your gun! The guy who's been breaking in is running down the street." Gregory's urgent shout sliced through the afternoon calm, summoning his 34-year-old son, Travis McMichael. This was not a call to law enforcement. It was a rallying cry for a self-appointed hunt. Without hesitation, father and son armed themselves, Gregory with a .357 Magnum revolver, Travis with a shotgun. They climbed into their white pickup truck, their intention clear, not to observe or report, but to confront, detain, and enforce their own version of justice upon an unarmed individual. The engine roared to life, a predator's sound against the suburban quiet, as they began their relentless pursuit of Ahmaud. Ahmaud, likely hearing the truck closing in, picked up his pace, perhaps thinking it was a friendly wave or a neighbor passing by. He couldn't have known the terror that was about to unfold as the McMichaels' truck relentlessly tracked Ahmaud. Another vehicle driven by their neighbor, Roddie Bryan, 50, joined the macabre procession. Bryan had witnessed the chase initiating, and instead of contacting emergency services or remaining a neutral bystander, he made the fateful decision to become an active participant. He pulled his own truck into the chase, strategically maneuvering it to try and block Ahmaud's path, effectively cornering him. And as he did so, he raised his cell phone, not to call for help, but to record the unfolding drama, capturing the chilling evidence that would later expose the truth. The next few minutes were a nightmare for Ahmaud Arbery. He was hunted through his own neighborhood, a captive of the streets he once knew as safe. The terrifying video, later revealed to the world, would show the sheer desperation of an unarmed man trapped, trying to run around the McMichaels' truck, only to be met by Travis McMichael, shotgun aggressively raised. "Stop, you bastard!" Travis yelled, his voice laced with a fury born of assumption. Ahmaud, caught between the two trucks, made a last desperate effort. He lunged, perhaps to defend himself, perhaps to disarm his attacker, but the struggle was brief and brutal. In rapid succession, 3 shotgun blasts tore through the afternoon stillness at point-blank range. The sound, sharp and final, echoed through the quiet street. Ahmaud Arbery stumbled, then collapsed onto the pavement, his life force ebbing away in the very street where he had sought freedom through running. The self-appointed vigilante stood over him, The gravity of their actions, or perhaps the complete lack thereof, yet to fully sink in. In the agonizing 74 days that followed, an eerie, disturbing silence descended. No arrests were made. The McMichaels claimed self-defense and attempted citizen's arrest, citing a Civil War-era Georgia law designed to allow private citizens to apprehend felons. But the interpretation was, in this context, deeply flawed and dangerous. Adding to the injustice, the first two district attorneys assigned to the case recused themselves due to conflicts of interest, a disturbing testament to Gregory McMichael's connections to the local legal system. One of them even argued that the killing was justified. It appeared as though the case and the truth were on the verge of being deliberately swept under the rug, buried beneath a veneer of legal loopholes and systemic bias. Then, on May 5, 2020, the dam broke. The graphic, 2-minute video filmed by Bryan was leaked to a local radio station and immediately posted online. Its impact was instantaneous and explosive. The footage laid bare the sickening reality. An unarmed man, pursued, trapped, and killed by 3 armed men. It obliterated the self-defense narrative, exposing it for the fiction it truly was. The public reacted with overwhelming outrage, a furious demand for justice that erupted into protests across the country. The video provided irrefutable evidence, undeniable proof of a modern-day lynching, compelling a legal system, initially resistant, to finally confront its duty. Just 2 days after the video's public release, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, GBI, took command of the investigation. Swiftly, Travis and Gregory McMichael were arrested. Weeks later, Roddie Bryan was also taken into custody. The wheels of justice, though agonizingly slow to start, had finally begun to turn. These 3 men would ultimately face the consequences of their actions in 2 separate yet equally crucial trials. The first was the state murder trial, held in a Georgia state court in November 2021. The charges were severe: malice murder, felony murder, and aggravated assault. The defense vigorously argued that the men had a legal right to perform a citizen's arrest, believing Ahmaud to be a burglar, and that Travis McMichael acted in fear for his life during the confrontation. However, the prosecution systematically and powerfully dismantled these claims. They presented compelling evidence that the McMichaels and Bryan were the unequivocal aggressors, lacking any legitimate legal authority to detain Ahmaud. They were driven by dangerous assumptions, not by verified facts. The prosecution's closing argument resonated. These men attacked him. They shot and killed him based solely on their own prejudicial conclusions. After an intense and closely watched trial, the jury delivered its unanimous verdict. All 3 men were found guilty of murder. Travis and Gregory McMichael were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Bryan received a life sentence with the possibility of parole. The second trial, the federal hate crime trial, took place in federal court in February 2020. Federal prosecutors meticulously built a case, arguing that the men killed Ahmaud Arbery because he was black. They presented damning evidence of the defendant's racial animus, including a trove of text messages and social media posts filled with abhorrent racist slurs and sentiments. A particularly chilling piece of testimony revealed that Travis McMichael had uttered a racial slur over Ahmaud Arbery's dying body, a final horrifying act of prejudice. The jury found all 3 men guilty of federal hate crimes, attempted kidnapping, and interfering with Ahmaud Arbery's rights, securing additional lengthy prison sentences that solidified their fate. The murder of Ahmaud Arbery, alongside the killings of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor in the same year, became a devastating, yet pivotal, catalyst for the sweeping racial justice protests of 2020. The impact of this case resonated deeply, leading to tangible change. In direct response to the public outcry and the glaring flaws exposed, Georgia completely repealed its vague and dangerous citizen's arrest law, a relic of a bygone era. The verdicts, both state and federal, were hailed as landmark victories, demonstrating that with irrefutable evidence, public pressure, and dedicated legal efforts, accountability for racially motivated violence is indeed possible. Ahmaud Arbery's name is now etched in history, remembered not just for the profound tragedy of his death, but for the powerful, enduring movement for justice and systemic change that his story so tragically and bravely inspired. The tragic events surrounding Ahmaud Arbery's death compel us to ask a difficult but essential question. Could this devastating outcome have been entirely avoided? In the realm of true crime analysis, while we meticulously dissect what occurred, it is equally vital to engage in what-if thinking, exploring the critical turning points where a different decision, a moment of restraint, or an adherence to established protocols could have dramatically altered the course of destiny. Let's delve into a pivotal junction in this case and explore a hypothetical, alternate timeline, one where a life might have been spared and the perpetrator's lives not irrevocably shattered. The most glaring and tragically consequential turning point occurred on that fateful Sunday afternoon when Gregory McMichael first observed Ahmaud Arbery jogging. His immediate, unchallenged assumption, fueled by unverified neighborhood rumors and an inherent bias, served as the primary catalyst for everything that followed. What if, instead of impulsively concluding Ahmaud was a criminal engaged in wrongdoing, Gregory had chosen a fundamentally different path? What if he had exercised caution, observed from a safe, non-confrontational distance, and if he still harbored genuine concerns about potential suspicious activity, simply reported his observations to the proper authorities? The local police department. Let us construct this alternative scenario, envisioning a timeline rooted in responsible citizenship and adherence to law. Gregory watches Ahmaud for a moment longer, noting his general appearance and direction. Instead of grabbing firearms, rousing his son, and initiating a high-speed vigilante pursuit, he reaches for his phone and calmly dials 911. He articulates his general, albeit unconfirmed, suspicions to the dispatcher, describing the individual he sees and the context of recent property incidents in the area. Law enforcement, trained professionals equipped to assess situations, respond appropriately, and uphold constitutional rights would then engage. They might dispatch a patrol unit to quietly observe the area, perhaps approach Ahmaud for a consensual conversation to ascertain his presence, or simply log the information for future reference without any immediate intervention if no crime was being committed. In this alternate timeline, the crucial difference lies in the method of response. Ahmaud Arbery, utterly unaware of the groundless suspicion that momentarily fell upon him, continues his jog uninterrupted. His run concludes as it began, peacefully, invigorated, and without incident. There is no aggressive pursuit by armed private citizens. There is no terrifying confrontation on a quiet street. No desperate struggle for survival. No sudden horrific gunshots that shatter the afternoon's tranquility. Ahmaud returns home, his life vibrant and intact, his future awaiting him, filled with possibility. And what becomes of Gregory and Travis McMichael and William Bryan? In this profoundly different scenario, in this timeline, they remain citizens with concerns, perhaps even misguided ones, but they do not become perpetrators of a fatal confrontation. Their lives are not utterly shattered by lengthy prison sentences, nor are they forever marked by their roles in a racial injustice that galvanized a nation. They would still harbor their suspicions, perhaps still wrestle with their biases, but their actions would not have crossed the irreversible line into violence and illegality. The community of Satilla Shores might still grapple with its underlying issues of safety and inherent biases, but it would not have been forced to confront the horrific reality of a modern-day lynching unfolding on its tranquil streets. The tragic stain on its history would have been averted. This what-if scenario profoundly highlights the immense, often underestimated, power of individual choice and the catastrophic ripple effect of impulsive, biased decisions. The tragedy of Ahmaud Arbery's death serves as a stark, undeniable reminder of how a fundamental failure to challenge one's own assumptions, combined with an egregious disregard for proper legal procedure and the boundaries of personal authority, can lead to devastating and absolutely irreversible consequences. It speaks volumes to the insidious and pervasive nature of implicit bias and the profound dangers of allowing fear, prejudice, and misinformation to dictate our actions, rather than relying on verifiable evidence, established law, and fundamental human empathy. Furthermore, this analysis underscores the perilous nature of outdated legal frameworks. The reliance on a vague and dangerous citizen's arrest law, a relic from a different era, further illustrates the systemic failures that enabled such reckless vigilantism to escalate. It wasn't solely individual prejudice at play. It was a flawed legal framework that, for too long, offered an unjustifiable shield to those who would take justice into their own hands, often with deadly and discriminatory outcomes. The swift repeal of this law in Georgia, a direct consequence of Ahmaud's case, stands as a testament to the powerful, if agonizingly learned, lesson that such legal ambiguities cannot be allowed to persist. The consequences of unchecked power, whether individual or systemic, are far too great. The profound sorrow emanating from Ahmaud Arbery's story, while undeniably agonizing, offers critical and universally applicable lessons that can powerfully empower each of us to foster a more just, vigilant, and ultimately safer society. The core lesson distilled from this heart-wrenching case is unmistakably clear: unchecked suspicion, particularly when it becomes intertwined with racial bias and manifests as vigilantism, fundamentally corrodes the fabric of community safety and inevitably leads to irreversible tragedy. This case serves as a powerful and enduring demonstration of the psychological dangers inherent in confirmation bias and the fatal flaw of allowing deep-seated prejudice to override reasoned judgment, legal protocol, and basic human decency. The perpetrators in this narrative did not seek to understand or confirm any facts. Instead, they sought to accuse and apprehend, driven solely by a dangerous and baseless stereotype. Here are 3 specific, actionable tips derived from the meticulous analysis of this case, designed not only to enhance our personal safety, but also to profoundly contribute to the creation of a more just and empathetic community. 1. Consciously challenge your assumptions and recognize implicit biases before you even consider acting upon a suspicion, especially when that suspicion involves individuals from different racial, ethnic, or socioeconomic backgrounds than your own. Take a deliberate pause. Critically evaluate the true basis of your concern. Ask yourself, is this suspicion grounded in concrete, verifiable evidence, or is it unconsciously influenced by stereotypes, unfounded fears, or unverified rumors? Our brains are naturally wired to take mental shortcuts, which often leads to the development and manifestation of implicit biases. Actively and consciously challenging these biases can serve as a powerful deterrent against making snap judgments that carry devastating, even fatal, potential. True community safety and personal security emanate from objective assessment, rigorous verification, and a commitment to fairness, not from prejudiced presumptions or unexamined fears. If you observe something that is genuinely concerning, focus exclusively on the specific behavior you are witnessing, not on the identity of the person, and always prioritize reporting to legitimate trained authorities over personal intervention. 2. Understand and strictly respect the proper role of law enforcement and its inherent limitations. The concept of citizen's arrest is incredibly complex, frequently misunderstood, and as powerfully demonstrated by Ahmaud's case, has been severely restricted or entirely repealed in many jurisdictions, including Georgia. The act of taking the law into your own hands is fraught with immense peril, not only for the person you presume to be a suspect, but also for your own safety and legal standing. Unless you are directly witnessing an active, dangerous felony that poses an immediate threat to life or severe bodily harm, and are compelled to act in self-defense or defense of others, your paramount responsibility as a citizen is to be a good, objective witness. Observe meticulously, document safely from a distance if possible and legal, and immediately contact law enforcement, empowering trained professionals who are equipped to handle investigations and confrontations with appropriate protocols and de-escalation techniques, protects everyone involved, and ensures that due process and constitutional rights are upheld. Resisting the impulsive urge to play hero or take justice into your own hands is almost always the wisest, safest, and most legally responsible course of action. 3. Become an empowered bystander through safe documentation and persistent advocacy. The leaked video in Ahmaud Arbery's case was not merely significant. It was a pivotal, undeniable force that ultimately compelled accountability and initiated systemic change. If you witness a potentially dangerous, suspicious, or clearly unjust situation, particularly one that hints at an abuse of power, from a safe and discreet distance, use your cell phone to record the event. This action creates objective, verifiable evidence that can later prove invaluable to law enforcement, to legal proceedings, or for raising critical public awareness. However, it is imperative to remember that your personal safety is always paramount. Do not intervene physically if it places you or others at undue risk. Beyond immediate documentation, consistent and unwavering advocacy plays an absolutely vital role in fostering lasting change. Speak out against injustice in your community and online. Actively support organizations working tirelessly for racial equity and civil rights, and engage in informed civic discourse to challenge outdated laws, confront systemic biases, and ensure that tragedies like Ahmaud's become catalysts for a better future rather than recurring nightmares. Community vigilance, when channeled through proper, safe, and ethical avenues, truly is a powerful and transformative force for meaningful, enduring change. The profound and enduring memory of Ahmaud Arbery stands as a somber, yet incredibly powerful, reminder that the pursuit of justice is not a singular event, but a continuous, collective endeavor. 9. It demands our constant vigilance against the insidious grip of prejudice, a steadfast commitment to upholding the fundamental dignity and ensuring the safety of every individual, regardless of their background. Ahmaud's name is now indelibly etched in the annals of history, remembered not only for the deep sorrow and profound injustice of his death, but perhaps more significantly for the powerful, widespread movement for equity, accountability, and systemic change that his story so tragically and bravely inspired. His legacy continues to challenge our society, reshape our legal landscapes, and call upon our collective conscience to strive for a truly just world. If you enjoyed this story, please like and share this video and leave a comment with your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe to the True Crime Deep Dive channel and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any new videos.